everyone, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Amanda Ziadeh with Washington Exec, and with me today is John Larson. John leads Booz Allen's artificial intelligence practice and is newly announced as Washington Exec's AI Council chairperson. Thank you for joining me today, John.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm really happy to be here. Exciting topic, exciting times, and so look forward to our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of which, based on your professional experience, John, I'm curious, what are some of the focus areas and hot topics in AI that you want to discuss with the council this year?
Well, I think you could almost say anything, right? Because I think part of what we're seeing right now is this sort of emergence of AI from behind a veil and permeating into almost every area of our lives, right? And so I think you could almost go anywhere with this. What we want to do, I think, with the council this year is really focus on, I think, 5 key areas, a lot of surface area, right, to cover, but I think 5 are where we're going to spend most of our time. So the first one, I think we want to really try to dig in a little around the White House executive order on AI, right? AI governance and responsible AI, everything that the executive order touched on, really important issues, right? And how that is going to be ultimately implemented, the role in which industry will play in enabling and supporting, and how government is going to sort of harness the power of AI for the greater good. I think those are kind of key questions that I want the council to be able to weigh in on and provide perspective on and input on. So that's the first. The second is, I think, coming off of that executive order, this rise of the role of the chief AI officer. I think the questions around, like, what is that role going to look like? We lived through a similar experience with the rise of the chief data officer. And so I'm excited to help think about what that role should look like, how that role is going to enable AI to accelerate across the federal government. So I think helping to think through that, and many of us from our organizations have a perspective on this, fill that role for our organizations. And so that's a second one. The third one would be around generative AI. I mean, again, this is sort of what's kind of unlocked the awareness, the consciousness of AI to everybody, right? Because generative AI has given us a way to program AI and consume output from AI in a native context. And so transformative technology really opening the door to AI almost everywhere. And so we'll probably be digging into that. And then the 2 other areas I think about are procurement, right? Like, so the government is going to have to think through, how are we going to procure these AI services in the future, right? What's the best way to bring AI to our missions? And so I think understanding the impact for procurement, how the government may think about making sure that they're getting the right solutions to their missions, key area. And then the last one is education. I think anyone who knows me, I'm really passionate about education. I sit on the AI EDU, helping that organization think about underrepresented and underserved communities and driving AI at that K through 12. And so I really want to think about, like, the role of education, both sort of for more mature workers who are thinking about, what does this mean to me and my job in a daily context, but also to our country, and ensuring that our talent is going to be there to ride this amazing AI wave into the future.
Yeah, there is certainly a lot to discuss. So looking forward to that. So based on your personal professional experience and, of course, your expertise in the field within the AI community, tell us how that'll help lead the council in these types of discussions.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So I think, like, it's important to know as I come into this role, I've been doing this for a long time, right? So, I always kind of joke around with, like, back in the Stone Ages when I started, my background is in economics. I started building large scale micro and macro simulation models using economics and mathematical econometrics. That's where I got my start. But AI has been around since the 1950s, right? And so part of I think what I'm going to bring to this is sort of like a long history of living through the hype cycles of AI, the ups and downs, right? And I think what's really different today, and I'll be calling on my background of doing this in government context and commercial context, doing it over a long period of time and living through those peaks and valleys of this hype cycle. What's different today is where we are with the data, the volume of data, right? Every device you have today is throwing off data. We create digital exhaust in almost every action we do every day. So there's so much data. the rise of compute power, right? You think about the amazing compute power that exists today that is unlocking the power in that data by giving us the ability to really do the analysis, mining, pattern detection of the data. And then the sort of algorithm transformations that have taken place from transformers to other algorithms that are opening up new potentials. And so I want to bring some of that experience to the council. And then I also think about my role in leading this organization. We are the single largest provider of AI to the federal government. We started this journey. We've been doing this, again, I think, mirroring my career for a long time with data science and machine learning way back in the 90s. But in 2017, we sort of made a bet. We said, this is the place we want to be, at the center of AI. And we committed to build an AI organization that was unrivaled. And that's today, like we sit on, delivering concurrently 200 AI projects across the federal government, right? We're at sort of the core of the mission. And so what we've developed, I think, is a really good framework by how you bring AI from the lab to the enterprise and from pilot to mission application. And so I think that's really important because we want to be at the tippy end of the spear in seeing AI in action, in it having impact. And so that's the thing I'm really excited to do, is to try to have those conversations as a council, as we engage with the members of the council, as we engage with members of government, talking about how you realize the promise and the potential that I think AI is going to unlock.
Yeah, and you mentioned, bringing in and having that conversation with members of government. So do you feel there's great value in connecting industry executives with government officials to discuss these topics that are, facing the AI community?
Yeah, so this is an area where I think, you look at sort of some of the great challenges we've faced in history, right? Like I think the sort of the pinnacle would be the space race, right? It took this marriage between government and industry to achieve that enormous outcome of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth, right? And I think the challenge ahead of us for AI is similar. And I think it's bold, it's ambitious. There are risks associated with it that we have to think through and navigate. And I think that marriage between government and industry is critical. And I think this is an area where industry, candidly, is out in front of government. Government is playing a little bit of catch up. This has unfolded fairly quickly in terms of the scale. I would characterize sort of like it's been going along and then rapidly accelerating as Gen AI sort of burst onto the stage. And so I think there are areas where industry is out in front. And we need to harness that insight, that knowledge, the technology. One of the big things that we do is we have a venture capital fund where we are finding, scouting, and identifying emerging startups with this AI technology that we want to bring to the federal government and help bridge some of those gaps. The federal government needs to leverage what industry is doing. One of the key differentiators for America is our ingenuity, right? Our ability to really innovate. And this is an area where we have been a leader and are a leader today. And I think that's important for the government to ensure that we are bringing the best solutions to the government for their most critical missions, that we're harnessing the power of industry to do so. And so I'm excited about the partnership. I think it's going to require a kind of an all of the above, like lots of different players in industry to help solve the opportunities that are ahead of us and overcome some of the hurdles that exist. But I think I'm very optimistic about that partnership and excited. I think it's the right partnership at the right time.
All right, wonderful. Well, John, my last question for you is really about your vision for the council as its chairperson. So what do you hope to accomplish? What do you hope the council members get out of your leadership?
Yeah, so, we thought about this, and one of the things I've really been focused on is sort of what is the impact we want to have? What will be the legacy of this next year? This council has been so important in every single year. And so I've sort of grounded around a couple things. The first is kind of what we just left off of, which is this idea of we want to enable a competitive AI ecosystem. And so we want to have those conversations and help inform the government as they think about how to bring AI to their missions and be a voice that can help them achieve their goals and objectives. And so I do want to think about how do we create that very competitive AI ecosystem, harness the power of industry to enable the government to achieve their goals and objectives. So that's the first. The second one is I think about leadership and innovation, right? And so we talk about this idea of how do we maintain our leadership. It is imperative that as a country, we maintain the leadership position on AI, because when we lead it, we get to set the tone, the tenor, the pace, the policies. And so I think it's important for us as a council to think about how we continue that leadership position and enable it by bringing the government those great capabilities that exist. I want to think about how we improve government, right? Like, so there are so many things in so many ways that AI can impact government for good, that can help achieve the missions and objectives by creating greater efficiency, more impactful outcomes. And so I want to really explore, how do we be better partners on behalf of the government to achieve those outcomes for them? I want to think about how we advance workforce development, right? Like, one of the key elements, back to this education principle that I think about, is like the workforce is going to have to rise to this opportunity. The workforce is going to need to learn how to harness this technology and embrace it. You know, I often talk about with many of the people I work with, like, no one's going to lose their job to AI, but you may lose your job to someone who knows how to use AI in it, right? And so we want to create that workforce that is embracing AI and is going to transform how they bring solutions to market, how they address these government missions, by knowing, hey, AI can be inserted here. Let's figure out how to bring that to fruition. And then the last thing, and I think probably the most important thing, is we want to figure out how to have those conversations about how this is done in a responsible way, right? The guidance that the EO has given us, AI governance is on the rise. I think there's a critical need for that. And how do we harness all of that, right, around a responsible framework, so that the way that AI is going to unfold for the government and for us as a nation, and I hope for us as a world, is going to be through that responsible lens, so that it's going to enrich society and create opportunities for all. And that's sort of the kind of the key areas that I'm really focused on.
Right. Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing those with us. We certainly look forward to your chairpersonship and the discussions that the council will have this year. Certainly lots to discuss. So it's an exciting time. Thanks
Well,
for
thank you, Amanda. I appreciate the time, and I'm looking forward to the opportunities ahead of us. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.